Hello, ladies. I'm just off this call with you and I'm going to show you what it feels like just to do something because your soul's like so excited, rather than like trying to make a YouTube video that lots of people can see when it's not the right time to be doing that. So here we go. And then just notice how you receive this and what a difference it makes, because I wish I hadn't deleted it, but I started this as a YouTube video and then I was going to share it with you. And then now I'm on here thinking, I'm just going to talk to these two beautiful souls and I'm going to teach them something. So here we go. Let me just get a felt tip pen. So note this, number one, I'm going away to get a felt tip pen and I'm not worried what that might look like on video. Right, what we're going to call this one. You like coleslaw that's brewing here. Right, we're going to call this wonderful woman here Susie. And Susie has had quite an ordinary life. She's got a strange body. She's a very loving person. She didn't have a particularly traumatic childhood. She had a regular upbringing in the UK. She went to normal school. Her mum and dad were stressed. They both worked, and let's say that her mum nagged her quite a lot and her dad was pretty strict. So Susie grew up in the UK. Should we give her some hair? There we go. And various things happened to her. So these are her chakras. So this is a base chakra, there's a heart chakra, sacral, solar plexus, throat, third eye, crown. Now, I don't know that much about chakras, but what I do know that if we were living in a natural flow, energy would flow up through these chakras so lovely, it would come past the heart and up here, and we would just feel love all the time. But no, that's not the state that we're in. We hardly ever feel love, except for when we meet somebody and that touches our heart, or we buy a new dress and that touches our heart, or we get a new house, or we feel kind of love and those dopamine hits. But that's not how love is meant to work, because what happens after them is we just feel like shit, really. So what we're aiming for is we're aiming for this flow. We're aiming for this chi energy to flow up past the heart and out here, and we'll feel a natural state of love, which I'm feeling more often. And you could liken this to when you're driving over the crest of a hill and you see a rainbow and you're like, oh my God, wow, there's the rainbow. Or you could liken it to, put her down, we'll get her in a minute. You could liken it to a sunrise, a sunset. We do feel these moments of love, but what happens in our lives is I think you both heard this analogy, we might go to the ice cream van, mother's stressed, she gives us the money for the ice cream van, we feel very lucky, and on the way back from the ice cream van we fall over, oh, we're really upset, we hurt our knee, and this blockage is created in our system, and I'll explain why in a bit. We might go to school, we might get a really good report card, come home and it adds up to 95%, and we show it our dad and he says, why didn't you get 100%? There's another one. And so all these blockages, and some are smaller, some are bigger, and think of these like pebbles in the sea, and like suddenly all this energy cannot flow around here because it's got this like in between. And so what should happen is, in life and emotions, they should just flow through us, like I described. If you're driving down a street and it's got beautiful trees on either side, and the scenery of that trees comes in and comes out, But what's happening with us is one of two things. We either receive a trauma, because this is how we're taught. We receive a trauma. We're not allowed to feel, and it becomes this. Because when did any parent ever let you feel? When did any grandparent ever let you feel? When did any teacher ever let you feel? If you were in a supermarket and a child was screaming and bawling in one of the aisles, what's your automatic response? When's that parent going to chuck that child up? We don't like to see emotion. And the reason we don't like to see emotion is because it triggers our emotion. Then there's the other thing, there's beauty. And we have all these beauty things inside of us that we didn't want to let go of. So that's actually really different. So we have blockages that are actually beauty. So love, joy and peace that we didn't want to let go of. So we might have found as a child that, nothing was ever really that much fun, or we might have had fun every so often and something really nice happened. Perhaps at school you were in a race and you won and you were the centre of the attention and you felt special, so you cling on. So you cling on to beauty. But in actual fact, all these emotions were designed to just flow like chi through the system. So what we find is, as adults, we've got all these blockages in our system. Now, this is why a trigger is a gift. So something happens in front of you, and this is only for you too. So you listen to a podcast and you have a reaction, and it doesn't matter what that other person, the reason they did that podcast, how they feel, what was going on with them. What's important to you is how you feel. Now, when you start going down the line of how they feel, you're diverting attention away from yourself, so you feel better, because you don't want to look in here. Because if you look in here, you're going to have to see what's in here. So whatever they've triggered is in here. So the secret is to start looking in here, and that's going to be what we're going to talk about next week. So the secret is, how is this me? But for the moment, we're just talking about the triggers. We're talking about why this is happening. So when something happens on the outside that triggers what's going on in the inside, it's an emotional blockage, and it can either be beautiful or it can be traumatic. Mostly it's traumatic, and the secret is to use that trigger to unblock that blockage so the chi can start flowing through your system. So this is like the start for you. So when you're noticing joy and your reactions, also notice when you're resisting something. Notice those resistances. Notice when it's like, oh, because that's hitting the trauma. So the secret is to unblock this system is to feel the trauma, to turn the attention back in here. And that's what we're going to be doing for the next 10 weeks. We're going to be turning the attention in here. So we're going to be doing two things, and we could use the terminology. We're going to be spell making, and we're going to be spell breaking. So the spell making is the parts that we're starting to embody the beauty and allowing things in and allowing life in presence and all its gloriousness. That's the spell making. And the spell breaking is the part where we're going to remove that's all I'm ever doing, is removing these blockages, helping you get those out of your system. And it was so beautiful to see those tears come today, Kat. That was so lovely. Just think, you've dissolved one of these. And Gainer, just think how many of these you've dissolved. Because even though it might feel like the same emotion, even though it might feel like the same pain, it's more dissolving. It comes out through the heart, and when it gets stronger, when it hurts more, that's time to celebrate and realize the heart's now expanding, so it's allowing more of this out of your system. And then we're going to learn how to sit on the seat of consciousness with that. That's what presence is. So instead of becoming it, you observe it. But that's, again, another lesson. So that's it for today. That's the video that I promised to do on emotions and triggers. I get to do a tick and a to-do list, and you'll notice in my contract it wasn't about to-dos anymore, but that was fun. And then I shall do a how is this me before we meet next week. Let me know when next week, and we'll go from there. And I love you both.